Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty fundamental, I think. Questions maybe you've had about purpose, about pain, and, well, where God is when life just feels heavy.
Yeah, those are the big ones, aren't they?
Yeah,
The things that keep us up at night sometimes.
exactly. And the core message we want to start with right away is this. You're seen, you're known, and there's this invitation into a really full, courageous life with God.
hmm I like that starting point. It's very direct, very personal. It cuts through a lot of the noise and speaks straight to maybe where someone is hurting or questioning.
Right. And it immediately follows with something I find incredibly freeing, this idea that following Jesus, well, it isn't actually about getting yourself perfect first.
Oh, that's crucial because who feels perfect, right? It shifts the focus. It's about trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trusting him right where you are in the middle of whatever mess you feel you're in.
Absolutely. Then we get this. Well, it's described as a radical invitation from Jesus himself. Deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow him.
Radical is the right word. It sounds intense, doesn't it? Deny yourself. Take up a cross.
It does. But the way it's framed here, it's less about grim duty and more about a daily choice, a surrender.
Exactly. It's presented almost like an exchange, a trade-off. You let go of maybe your need for control, your own limited understanding, and in return, you gain God's actual presence with you, his power working in you, a kind of peace that, well, that doesn't always make sense in the circumstances, and real hope.
Presence, power, peace, hope. That's quite the exchange when you think about it. Not just a burden, but an unlocking of something profound.
Precisely. It reframes that taking up the cross idea completely.
Okay, so then the conversation shifts a bit. It tackles that feeling, I think we've all had it, of delay. You feel like God promised something, or you're waiting for a breakthrough, and it just isn't happening.
Yeah, the waiting place. That can be really tough. The source material brings up some powerful examples here.
It does. Joseph, dreams of leadership, ends up in prison, then boom, palace.
Right. Or David, anointed king, but spends years running for his life from the current king before he actually wears the crown.
And ultimately, Jesus himself. The cross had to come before the resurrection. So what's the takeaway from these stories of delay?
I think the core message is really clear. Delay doesn't mean denial. It doesn't mean God has forgotten or changed his mind.
So it's not abandonment.
Not at all. These examples suggest that the waiting period, even the painful parts, can actually be part of the preparation.
Yeah.
God might be working something in you before he does something through you. It's often a time of shaping, of testing, of building reliance on him.
That makes sense. Preparation, not punishment. But what about when it's not just delay, but silence? When you pray and it feels like nothing.
Oh, that's maybe even harder than delay, isn't it? That feeling of silence.
Right.
But the text is adamant here. God's silence should never be mistaken for his absence.
Okay, how does it back that up?
It points directly to Romans 8:28. You know, the one.
God works all things together for good.
For those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And the emphasis is on all things. That includes the confusing parts, the painful parts, the things that feel like detours or dead ends.
So even the stuff that feels random or just bad.
Exactly. The encouragement is to trust that somehow, even if we can't see it now, God is weaving it all into his larger good purpose. Nothing is wasted. He can redeem even the hardest circumstances.
Nothing wasted. That's
Yeah.
a powerful thought to hold on to in those silent times. Okay, so then there's this sense of a call, right, from the Holy Spirit.
Yes, a very distinct call. And it's framed as going beyond just like intellectual belief about Jesus.
What do you mean?
It's moving from just believing certain facts about him to actually actively following him, making him Lord of your life day by day.
And there's a specific shift in perspective mentioned too, isn't there?
Shifting away from that question, why God, why is this happening to me? Which is so natural.
Totally natural.
And moving towards a more open question, Lord, what are you doing in me through this? It changes the posture from victim to participant in what God is doing.
From to me to in me, that's a big shift. And the source describes the Spirit's approach here as compassionate.
Yes, very much so. Not condemning, not demanding in a harsh way, but inviting, gently prompting us, isn't it time to go deeper? Isn't it time to trust me more fully? It's an appeal to lay down fear and pick up faith.
Lay down fear, pick up faith. I like that. And there's a real urgency to respond, isn't there? The text says, now.
Right now. Regardless of how ready you feel or how messed up you think you are or how far you feel you've drifted.
So you don't need to clean yourself up first, get everything perfect.
Absolutely not. The point is made very clearly. Jesus isn't primarily looking for the polished, the perfect, the people who have it all together.
Who is he looking for then?
He's looking for the willing, the
Yeah.
humble, the ones who are ready to say, okay, Lord, I don't have it all figured out. I'm not perfect, but I surrender. Use me. That posture of surrender seems to be the key.
Why is that surrender so crucial? What does it unlock, according to this?
Well, the source suggests that surrender is precisely what opens the door for God's power to flow into our lives in transformative ways. When we stop trying to run the show ourselves,
Yeah.
we actually create space for him to move, to bring healing where there's brokenness, restoration where there's loss, provision where there's need.
So it's not just about interchange, like peace and hope, but tangible results too.
Yes, both inner transformation and outward change.
Yeah.
God moving in circumstances,
Yeah.
but also changing us from the inside out so that we actually become different people, people who reflect his light.
Becoming a light. That leads to the final point, doesn't it? About shining in a dark world.
It wraps up by reminding you, the listener, that you inherently can shine. It's built into you as someone created in God's image and redeemed by Christ.
So it's not about trying to shine, but letting the light that's already potentially there through surrender actually come out.
Exactly. The surrender allows God's light in you to become visible. And this isn't just for your own benefit. It's so you can be a beacon of hope and truth for others who are navigating darkness.
Wow. So the final thought it leaves us with is pretty powerful then.
It really is. It frames this whole idea of surrender not as giving up or losing out, but as the pathway to truly living.
Truly living, seeing God move, not just in theory, but in your actual life, in your circumstances, and through you, impacting the world.
Yeah. It's an invitation to step into a dynamic, active relationship with God where you witness his power firsthand.
So I guess the question for everyone listening, including us, is what might you be holding on to too tightly today? What fear, what control, what agenda?
And what could happen, really, what amazing things could God do if you decided right now to just open your hands, to surrender?
That's the invitation, not to lose, but to truly live. Something to definitely mull over. Thanks for digging into this with me.
Always good to talk through these deep truths. Makes you think.